Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Hey, good Friday morning, progressives, and welcome to the January 3rd, 2025 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, Twitter Stream, and iHeartRadio, of course, are places you can find us. Email me at richard@WCPT820.com and catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can get Choose Views, the long and short version, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, Driving It Home with Miss Patty Vasquez, the big picture with Mr. Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other great shows and interviews, guys. Check out our heartlandsignal.com digital platform because there's lots of good stuff to share there and send on to your peeps and let them know that you care about them, that you want them to be engaged and part of this process of fixing and standing in the void and making sure that these knuckleheads do not make it so bad. But we have the ability and the strength to do that. I promise you we do. Here's the thing. You know that you've got the strength to stand in this void. You know that you've got the strength to push your elected officials on all levels to do the things that need to be done to make our country better. Not great again. Country's already great. Got faults, issues. Got a bad hangnail. Maybe that's oversimplifying it, but we got issues. Okay, and we can fix those. But it starts with us taking the position that we will stand strongly and stoutly in the void. And that's kind of what this show is all about. It's keeping you guys motivated and in line with thinking that says that we will win by fighting back, by standing strong, and by standing with each other and standing together. And to that end, we know that part of that strength, part of that ability to stand in the void and to be there for each other begins with doing sometimes some very simple things. And I'll tell you one that this came to me from an email from someone. But before I get there, a couple quick things. Today in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to have our good friend Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics with us, which will be a lot of fun. We're going to chat it up. We haven't had a chance to, haven't had her in studio for a couple of weeks, but she's going to be with us this morning. And so that'll be fun and enlightening. And we're going to talk about something that is part of the Forward We Go conversation, among other things. And, of course, we'll get some things for you guys to consider doing this weekend here in Chicago. And as I said in this new year, I said last year for the new year that I would talk about things to do in other cities. So that's coming. And I'll get to a city as we go along. So we'll get to as many cities as we can. And we'll probably add to that things to do in certain states. Because as you guys know, I'm one of those people that has visited and spent at least 3 days in every single state in the United States of America. That is one of my most proud things. My father got to, I think, 38 of them. But he said to me when I was a kid, he said, listen, travel, go places. It's about the experience, not about the thing. And if you experience a thing, then that's a good thing. My pop was real, he was a station wagon dude, so we would take lots of trips. But I'm going to get to as many cities and states this year as I can in terms of things to do in those different places. So we got that. We got Choose Views News coming at you. But the point I wanted to make about standing in the void and doing a simple thing is I received an email on New Year's Eve from Risa. I'm not going to mention last names, but Risa sent me this really cool take action kind of email. And basically she said that the inauguration day, the day of inauguration on the 20th of 2025, and welcome to 2025, y'all, that we should let our voices and opinions and strengths be known. The president-elect is not going to move this country in a direction that is reflective of the majority of Americans. The family about to take residency in the White House does not represent our values, has no conscientiousness of our needs, nor an intent to be a, quote, government for the people and by the people. And she is right on about that. So what's her suggestion? Boyd, blackout inauguration day. Now, that doesn't mean black folks out. It means blackout for all of us progressives. Blackout inauguration day on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Make it a day of service. Do not tune into the inauguration, but turn your TV to another station to tank their ratings of the mainstream media. And I'm reading the different parts of her email, not in the order that she wrote it. And so let's see, jump down. On January 20th, Boyd, close your wallets, purses, and pockets and spend no money. Bring your lunches to work and don't eat out. Now, I'm not fully on that part. I get the part about spending no money, but spend no money with the businesses that have been favoring 34-time convicted felon. Maybe let's be more specific in that regard. And you know who they are. You can look them up. And so I think the big one here is don't tune into the inauguration. That's something that everybody can do. You may have to, the reality is you may have to spend some money that day because you got to live. You got to do what you got to do, but spend judiciously. That one I can't, I get behind that in part, in spirit and in theory, but you may have to spend some money. But just be mindful. All right. But what she says about blackout of tuning into the inauguration, hell yeah. Don't turn that thing on. Go watch an old movie. If you're home on King Holiday and you have that day off, watch an old movie. Do something for yourself. Go to the gym and work out. Go for a good walk. Whatever it is, your favorite thing to do that when you have a day off, maybe treat yourself and do that. Dr. King would probably say, do something good for yourself. And in that, do something good for somebody else. That's it. Make it a day of service, as she says. Make it a day of service. It may be service for you and your own family. It may be service for someone that's in greater need. It may be service for a quote-unquote stranger, someone that you just met recently that's going through some stuff. But that's the way to deal with Inauguration Day. I believe that she's right, and take heed to what she's talking about. Share these words that I'm putting with you. I'm going to keep that email alive so that I can forward it to you guys if you want to kind of see what she said. I'll send you the context, not her email address, the context of the email. But she's on to something. She really is. Make this a day of service. Do not turn on the inauguration. There's really nothing to see other than the craziness. And I will say this, okay? There is a part of the inauguration that I do want to see. And that is the part where I want to see the looks on the looks on the faces of people that are going to be on the dais, that are going to be in that, in the area that the, all the dignitaries sit. That I'm curious to see. And I guess I'll just wait and catch the clips and what's posted accurately on social media and so forth. That I do want to see that, but I don't want to sit and watch it because I don't want to hear his voice. And I do want to see the small A crowd of people that will be on the mall. And so I know that there's going to be people there protesting as they should. And I'm going to do my part with regard to the show and how I'm not sure how what we're going to do specifically on that day. But I will tell you this, I won't be watching the inauguration. So Risa is right on point. And kudos to you for sending me that email. Thank you for that recommendation. And with your permission, I know you'll send me another email. If I can share this, not your email address, but share the content with folks, then I'll definitely cut and paste and do that. So thank you, Risa, for sending me that email. See, y'all, emails work. I'll mention your first name. Unless you tell me I can mention your first and last name. Sometimes I give initials, and I'm good for initials because it's kind of my endearment to people. But that's me. So yeah, guys, that's a way of not boycotting in a word, of saying nope, not gonna. And the mainstream media doesn't deserve your eyes. There's nothing you're gonna see. And they're going to the anchors, the people that are going to be, the talking heads on all the stations, on every single one of the television or cable outlets, every single one from Fox to Bloomberg and everything in between. They're going to be in some ways trying to find ways not to say something that's not positive. How do I want to say it? They're going to do everything they can to kiss the behind, to kiss the ring. They're going to say all these, and that they're going to package it in a way so it sounds like they're being middle of the road. But in fact, by them not calling out in real time what's happening and the garbage of this next administration, they're complicit. And that's what's going to happen on that day. So I don't want to. I don't want to see that either. I don't want to hear that either. I don't want to hear them, tap dancing around. Oh, look at Melania and the vice president. I don't want to hear that garbage. None of it at all. So right on to you, Risa. Thank you for sending me that. And I'm honored to be able to share your thoughts here on the show this morning. So there you go, guys. Keeping it tight today because it's Friday. Got a lot to cover. 773-763-9278. Give us a call. Send us your text messages and all that good stuff. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Did I tell you guys how much I really love and appreciate the emails that I get from you and the text messages that I get from you? I know I was a day behind in getting back to some folks that sent me some things on Tuesday, but I hope I got everything out that you were looking for. There were clips that we played that you wanted to get sent to you, so hopefully we got that to you. And then now you can share them with the folks that are out there that you care about as we talk about. So check this out, guys. I don't know what's going on with some of the senators on the right, but for some reason I keep getting my clear notifications. This guy, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, and Tommy Tuberville, I don't know what the heck they're doing, or they're stepping in it big time, because a lot of people are I think that Kennedy's probably stepping in it because of the situation with this awful incident, this awful tragedy in New Orleans. But man, these dudes, okay, MAGA, y'all blew it. You blew it. I was about to list a song, but I'm not going to do that. So I'll tell you who's not blowing it and who doesn't give a darn, and that's my folks at Costco, y'all. Costco is like, you know what? Who cares? We talked about this the other day, where Costco is they're not taking any thing off the table when it comes to DEI, and for those who don't like that conversation around DEI, wake up, okay? Why would you not want to have diversity, equity, and inclusion in the world you live in? That's what I'm talking about. Why would you not want that? Do you think that just one culture or community has got it all figured out? I highly doubt that. And as an African-American man in America, I will tell you that black folks ain't got it all figured out, or folks that are of the our heritage comes from the continent of Africa, and one of the many countries inside of the continent of Africa. Which, by the way, if it became one country, could you imagine how the world would freak out over that? If Africa, because a lot of people think African like, oh, it's a country. No, it's a continent with many countries in it. It happens to be the largest continent on the planet. The maps have lied. Check out what Dr. Jane Elliott has illustrated for years now. That being said, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Black folks, African descendants of enslavement, we ain't got it all figured out. Trust me, I know. I've been around a lot of black folks. We ain't got it all figured out. We want to have inclusion because the diversity of thinking, the diversity doesn't just mean diversity of culture. It means diversity of thinking. But when you're around weak people, they don't want that because they only want their thinking or their thoughts to be the ones that get heard or presented. So they don't want diversity of thinking because that means that somebody else may have an idea that's better, stronger than the one than you have. So how do you shut that down? No diversity. No additional thinking. I'm not even going to say alternate thinking, but additional thoughts on something. The best leaders get lots of thoughts from different people, and they make a decision based on what makes the most collective sense. That's been proven over centuries. Equity. Equity is just making sure that everybody's got a fair playing field, level playing field. Fair may not be the best word. Level, close to level. Fair-esque, fair adjacent. Yeah, equity. And a part of the process, some equity, value in the process, value in your home, value in your investments. Okay? And inclusion. Why not? The more the merrier. I'll put it to you that for those who even some progressives out there, some fancy dancy progressives that don't like to talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, Richard, throw a party and invite 100 people and have 15 show up. To me, that's how I look at inclusion. Inclusion is having everybody that can be a part of something be a part of it. Again, these are my words. Y'all can fight me on it all day long, and I'll listen and go, okay, maybe I didn't have that one quite right. But inclusion means, let's have a little bit of everybody. It's all about that. That the diversity, equity, inclusion conversation freaks out a specific couple of groups of people because they actually aren't as smart and as strong and as powerful as they have thought they've led people to believe, and they themselves know that. They fooled themselves. So they have to shut down the opportunities for others. And as a result, that then makes them look stronger, but in fact, they're weaker. And so that's why I love, so I go back to my party analogy. Invite 100 people to your party or to your wedding. How about this? Invite 200 people to your wedding and have 40 people RSVP and 30 show up. Not too inclusive, is it? I look at inclusion kind of that way. You want to invite as many people to the party and have as many people be able to show up as possible to make it a better party. That's kind of how I see it. Those are my words. But let's talk about the sports analogy that I want to add to this. And then this is why this Costco piece is so important to me. I love the All-Star games. For example, the NBA All-Star game. I love the Pro Bowl. I don't watch all these, but I love the concept behind it. So just walk with me for a second. And, All-Star weekend in baseball, and the list goes on. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And in the individual sports, golf does their version of it with the Ryder Cup and President's Cup, and then tennis does its version of it with the Davis Cup, and the list goes on. What I like about that is it forces the top people to come together and be shown up by the elite people. And not shown up in a negative way, but shown up in an opportunistic way to say, I got some stuff to work on. Because in the divisions that you play in, you play the teams that are in your division more frequently than you do the ones that are in other divisions. That's why teams that go and play against a team that's from a different division in a sport get exposed very quickly that your division's weak. Okay? So in that conversation, as it relates to diversity, equity, inclusion, I look at it and say the all-star concept or the best of the best concept push you in a situation where you've got to play against those people. And yeah, we know oftentimes that the all-star events are ones that really, they don't play in the same regard as they do in the regular season. I get all that. But it brings the top of the cream of the crop, if you will, to the event. And they've got to play against each other. They got to really show out that day or that for that event. And how does that tie in Richard's mind to diversity, equity, inclusion? When you bring the best or as many to the party as possible, you get to see everything that's out there. And from an employer standpoint, the more you bring in from multiple sources, the more opportunity you're going to have to be able to get the best. And the thing that the Republicans don't like about the best is that they have for such a long time settled. Now, this is the truth. This is why I don't agree with oftentimes even some of my own progressive thinkers when they say that the Democrats did not talk to the, mainstream middle America, and this revision, what's the word I want to use? This going back to what it used to be and how it used to be. Well, hell, a lot of the people that they used to be aren't alive any longer. What my grandfather did or what my older uncles did, and even what my father did, isn't relevant to me now. It was relevant at a time, maybe, 40 years ago, but I'm living now. And so this conversation that is, we need to go back to a time when Democrats have to be careful to be talking that way. Because there's a lot of people who don't like and benefit from what it used to be. I hear them talk. I hear this conversation a lot in terms of the labor conversation. Unions are hugely important in our country, but let's not get it twisted. The unions have their nicks too, in terms of how they discriminated against people that they didn't want to be included in the party. And y'all know I'm telling the truth. That's a fact. The unions discriminated against folks as well. So to have this sort of, we need to go back to when you could do this and you could do. I understand that conversation, but how about if we fix it from a forward-thinking way, which is let's raise wages, let's cut CEOs' insanely stupid stock-based compensation, and put that money back into the companies and make sure that we can develop our employee bases by strengthening and smartening and educating our people. I was saying back in the 80s, we're making a mistake by following down this road of Reaganism and, taking money out of the corporation and sending. I said that back way before Ross Perot was saying it. I'm telling you, I was saying this when I was in my mid-20s. That's a mistake because we're not reinvesting back into people. And here we are 40-some years later, and it's still not really happened. And what's happened is those dollars have this is the one time where something rolls uphill. Well, they've rolled uphill to the pockets of leaders of businesses. So we, as a Democratic Party, progressive liberal Democrats, cannot get into the conversation of let's go back to how about if we go forward to raise wages, as there's I think there's some 23 states, I've got the information here, but raise wages, reduce this insane stock-based compensation for employers, which is at the nexus of why they think about shareholders before they think about employees and the betterment of that business. I've watched the trends over the years. And so if we could do that, we wouldn't have to go back to when it was. We would just accelerate the income base for millions of Americans who are going to do a couple of things. They're going to spend that money as a part of our consumer-based economy. They're going to save that money, and they're going to invest that money. That's the fix. And including people in that process makes us stronger. Excluding people does not make us stronger. Including people is what makes us stronger, because you have a bigger pool from which to pull from, a bigger pool from which to pull, P-U-L, from. That's reality, guys. And I've studied economics for most of my adult life, formally and informally, and it ain't rocket science. And I get tired of hearing progressive liberal Democrats talk about we didn't talk to the middle class enough during this campaign season. Well, doggone it, what the hell were they doing for 4 years? They were talking to the middle class and trying to raise wages and trying to bring in more people to the party. That's what the Democratic Party was trying to do. The problem is, and y'all know this is the truth, the doggone mainstream media wasn't having it. They didn't want you talking about. They didn't want to hear any conversation around how we were improving lives for women and working to improve lives for all of our immigrant populations, and how we were making sure that people with disabilities were taken care of. They didn't want to hear that. That was garbage. We just want to keep the Mexicans out of the country. We want to keep the nachos, that's a kind word for the N-word, from progressing. They didn't say a damn thing about white European immigrants coming to the United States. Not a damn thing at all. And now that's about to bite them in the behind, because we hear what your boy, 34 times convicted felon, is saying he wants to do. So when I hear companies like Costco saying to MAGA that they're going to boycott and not show up, I'm like, great, because I love to shop in Costco when y'all fools ain't in there. Yes, sirree, Bob. I love it. We don't want you there. Trust me, that there will be people. If MAGA decides to boycott Costco, Costco's going to be all right, because other folks are going to show up. Trust me on that. You'll just be clearing the way for other folks to show up. So kudos to Costco for leaning, not just holding the line, but leaning into DEI. Kudos. And all the MAGAs who want to boycott, stay away. We don't need you in the parking lot messing with the carts and leaving carts, Sorry. We're going to take a break, y'all. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Here are Friday, January 23rd's Choose Views news. Jobless claims hit a 8-month low. First-time claims for unemployment benefits fell to an 8-month low to end 2024. Oh, wow. How about that? According to newly released Labor Department data, an indication that the labor market remains resilient. Initial claims dropped by 9,000 to 211,000 for the week ending December 28th, while continuing claims fell to a 3-month low of 1.84 million the week before. The new figures suggest employers are retaining workers and that the labor market overall is in, quote, solid shape, as Fed Chair Jerome Powell said last month. There you go. Get it done, y'all. We have been getting it done. Boy, Mackie, y'all messed up. Housing woes continue to linger in 2025. The new year is yet to bring two long-awaited developments in the housing market: lower mortgage rates and increased inventory. In fact, rates on 30-year loans inched up almost 7% at the end of 2024, closing the year near a 6-month high. And while there are more homes for sale, per Redfin, active listings were 12.1% higher in November compared to last year. All right, Apple is slashing its prices in China. This was anticipated, and here we are. Later this week, or beginning next week, amid rising competition from Huawei and domestic brands, the rare 4-day promotion on some of its newest iPhones and other products comes to an end at the Chinese New Year, as Apple grapples with declining market share, the world's biggest smartphone in the world's biggest smartphone market, that being China. Okay, emails replace face-to-face firings. Those are for punks who don't want to have the conversation. But anyhow, companies are turning to new ways to dismiss employees in the hybrid work era, according to the Wall Street Journal. Many no longer feel obligated to deliver bad news to face-to-face, opting for Zoom calls, emails, and even texts to lay off employees. Golly. In some cases, such as GM, it's a case of synchronizing a global layoff announcement. But such approaches aren't always the most humane and can even cost companies their public image, notes the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, absolutely. Online mortgage lender Better.com, for existence, came under fire after laying off hundreds over a Zoom call, prompting a public apology. That's right. Have the guts to do that. At least a phone call, but a Zoom call? I don't know. Tesla. For those of you who've got issues with Tesla, and I don't know, who am I talking about here? Tesla posts a rare annual sales drop. Grim news for Tesla. The automaker's annual global deliveries fell last year for the first time in more than a decade. as it revealed yesterday. That's despite a flurry of year-end financing and leasing deals meant to juice business. Tesla sold a total of 1.79 vehicles in 2024, below its prior year 1.81 million. Analysts had expected the figure to stay essentially flat. The Elon Musk firm also missed on deliveries for the quarter ending December 21st, notching 495,000 instead of the 512 analysts had projected. I wonder why. Buy a different. Listen, I'm unafraid and unapologetically have said, if you're looking to buy an EV, there are others you can buy. If you are a progressive liberal Democrat, that is a way for you to do what Risa talked about in your own little world. Buy a different EV. It's not saying don't buy an EV, just don't buy a Tesla. I have no problem saying that, because the company's owner has been negative and detrimental to our country. So there, I said it. States raise the minimum wage for 25. New year, new paycheck. Some 21 states have raised the minimum wages for 2025, affecting an estimated 9.2 million workers, per the Economic Policy Institute. In New York, the minimum wage for non-tip workers is set to rise by 50 cents an hour to $16.50 for New York City, Long Island, and Westchester County, and $15.50 for the rest of the state. Other workplace changes in the state took place as well. Pregnant employees are now entitled to at least 20 hours of paid leave for prenatal medical appointments, making New York the first state to offer such leave. And why the rest of the country can't get on board with that troubles me. But there are numbers of states that are working hard to improve, and they're blue states primarily. I wonder why. There you go, Henry. Boy, I tell you. All right, guys. If you're in and around Chicago, as we do on Fridays, we'd like to tell you a couple things you can do to get out and about and have a little fun. So here are a few things that you can do this weekend here in good old Windy City, known as Chicago. The Winter Carnival Skate or Bowl today. It's starting at 3 p.m., going to 6 p.m. The MLK Skating and Bowl Center, 1219 West 76th Street. Get out and enjoy yourself. Bowl, skate, bounce around, listen to some great music. You can rent skates. You can bring your own. But that will be a good thing for folks to get out and about and do. What else we got going on? Let's see. On my wonderful list. This one's called the Minutes Till Midnight Improv Show tonight, 7:30 at the Bug House Theater. Where's that? 1910 West Irving Park Road. So just like Irving Park and Damon, just in case you didn't know. It's called the Minutes Till Midnight Improv Show. That's something fun to check out. The Bowie Bowl, 9 p.m. tonight up at the Metro, 3730 North Clark Street. Celebrate David Bowie's 78th birthday. DJs will be putting down the music, so that should be fun. And get out and enjoy that if you're into that kind of thing. The Three Kings celebration tomorrow from 10 to 3 p.m. at the National Museum of Puerto Rican Arts and Culture, 3015 West Division. The Three Kings with live music, artists and vendors, food and drinks, and more for the family. So make your way over there. And make sure you patronize a local business. Saturday story time, Zeus at the National Hellenic Museum, 10:30 to noon tomorrow, 333 South Halstead. It's a great place to go. Anyhow, it's a great museum. Check it out. And then Serving Tray Woodworking Workshop. That's a mouthful. At the Rebuilding Exchange, 1740 West Webster, 11 to 2 p.m. tomorrow, which is Saturday. And there you go, guys. Some things to do here in Chicago. And obviously with the holiday season, there's still the lights and all the things that are happening in and around the city. If you're going to still want to take on a couple of the holiday celebration items in terms of going to the park and all that, get out. Most importantly, get out of the house. Go do something. You can stay in if you need to. But get out for a little bit, too. Just go for a walk around the building. Walk around the yard. All right, guys. I'm going back to this conversation about a little bit for DEI because I want to tie it to something else that's in my notes. How do I want to? I'll position it this way. Justice John Roberts, in case you guys didn't catch this, he's now warning Henry. I guess he's trying to send a signal potentially to the incoming Trump administration to not be too defiant in terms of court rulings. So what the heck does that mean? Not be too defiant. You helped create the monster, dude. You gave him purview to be defiant. You authored. You stood by, idly by, so that this crazy A fool would not have to deal with the righteous determination. I don't want to say punishment, but the righteous determination of the American people and our justice system. You stood there and said, nah, we're going to let this dude have immunity. And now you're trying to say you're going to warn against the administration, incoming administration, to not be too defiant? You've lost your damn mind. You had an opportunity. You had an opportunity, John Roberts, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. You had an opportunity to get your justices in line and say, look, this dude, based on the things that we are all reasonably, supposedly smart at, which is the law, which he snapped, crackled, and popped it. You had an opportunity to make sure that he followed the rules or had some retribution coming toward him for willfully not. You didn't even have to take the cases. That's all you had to do. If you didn't want defiance, you could have said, no, we're not taking the cases. I mean, literally, that's what could have happened. But once you did, and you saw the evidence, so now you want to say, hey, hint, hint, don't be too defiant. What are you going to do? You're not going to do anything. That's the thing. John Roberts, you and your other 5 conservative Supreme Court, not so Supreme Court justices aren't going to do a doggone thing. And let me tell you why you're not. Because when he wasn't president these last 4 years, and all the run to daddy that he did, daddy being the Supreme Court, to keep him out of hot water, all that he did, y'all didn't do a damn thing at all then when he wasn't president. So his ability to threaten and to use the bully pulpit really didn't exist. I mean, it did, but it didn't. Now it does, John Roberts. Now he can decide that he's going to threaten you. And he won't, because you gave him this is why this thing with John Roberts is just so annoying, and he just needs to be professionally slapped about this. You gave him the stick to beat you with. That's how. Did you not think that there was a possibility that he might win? You gave him the stick to beat you and your cronies with. And so to say don't be too defiant or warning against defiance of court rulings. Wow. You helped create the monster. Now you're telling the monster don't come to the party. And why do I tie that to DEI in a way? Is because I don't think he's qualified to be the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. But he got in because he's a white dude. Some people are not going to like that I just said that, but that is what happened, John. There were other men and women who were more qualified than him at the time that Bush appointed him. So how come he got the job? Well, go back and look at the what was taking place during the Bush administration, his daddy's administration. Just a little history. Alito. There's many, many, many others that are better than him in terms of legal scholars, men and women. But he's got the right costume. And Gorsuch. I mean, come on. Kavanaugh? Talk about DEI. I can come up with the word for him. Drunk every incident. That's what DEI stands for when it comes to Brett Kavanaugh. Drunk every incident. Every invite. I don't know. I'm in a way today, y'all, if you can't tell. And then Amy Coney Barrett. Really? DEI? Supreme Court? Really? Amy Coney Barrett? Y'all gonna that's the person? There are so many other. If you want to put this in the vein of talking about it in terms of women, so we don't say that it would have been a guy. There are so many other women that were far more qualified than her. But she got the DEI nod because she said the right thing and bent the knee, and some say literally, in her previous life and her religious beliefs. And good old Clarence. Good old Clarence. The one that they said was a DEI pick turned out to be the biggest of the fools. So, John Roberts, you created the monster. You're going to have to deal with it. And to say that he warns against, like, what are you going to do? What are you warning against? Like, what are you going to really do? You told him he does not have to be held accountable for things that he's done. So the things that he's going to do, you've already, sort of smoothed the path for him. Talk about DEI. All right, guys, time for a break. 773-763-9278. Give us a call. Send us a text. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, guys, welcome back to Choose Views. Some great texts this morning. One of the texts talks about their church is having a Dr. King service on the 20th. And this person said they called Costco when I mentioned, I guess, the Costco statement prior. I guess that would have been day before yesterday, and thanked them for being pro-DEI. That comes from Darlene. Right on, Darlene. Good for you. And kudos to your church. Send me the address of the church, and I'll at least keep that in my thoughts and whatnot on King Day. Let's see. You got another one. Hold on a second, Henry. Talking about taxes and making sure that those who are middle income be taxed more appropriately. Okay, I get it. Good point. I don't know who that is, but you have been you've been great in your text messages, so I'm gonna just say thank you to that. So listen, guys, we every now and again I've got to really shout at certain things, and this thing around DEI and my connection to that in the Supreme Court. We got 6 people in the Supreme Court that are DEIs for certain, because they're not the brightest bulbs when it comes to the law. So that's just my observation, and it's not too far off from being accurate. But John Roberts, no, dude, you don't get to warn the guy you gave the stick to hit you with. Don't hit me too hard. That's like, Henry, that's like giving the monkey, as Eric Grant says on the family meeting, we've joked about this, they gave the monkey the gun. He gave it back to them when he lost the election. And then they said, no, we're going to give it back to you again. And now you're saying, don't shoot me. Wow. Wow, y'all. That's just, wow. A little bit of insanity in there, John Roberts. All right, let's go, Henry, to our man George that's sitting on hold. George, thanks for holding. Welcome to Choose Views.
Yeah, good morning, Richard. With my take on DEI is that, for example, a person has a rose garden. Now, yeah, they could have a garden with all white roses and be satisfied with themselves, but that's not really realistic. A person is not going to have a garden with just one type of flower. They're going to have all kinds of flowers, all different shades of colors. You're going to have red roses and other things like that, and that's what makes the garden beautiful.
Yep.
And probably even biologically makes it even stronger. You take, for example, the marketplace. Mm-hmm. The marketplace is supposed to be for everybody. Okay, everybody comes in to downtown Chicago or to the shopping mall. they come from their homes, their households, their neighborhoods,
right?
Which may be somewhat, similar in composition. But you come to the marketplace where people go to exchange consideration, the money, for products and services on equal footing, eye to eye. And that is what it makes it in balance. And where people are supposed to be free to be able to do those exchanges, at least, for professional and personal reasons. And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's what also makes this country strong. So for those people who are, on the right wing, they need to get over that as well.
Yep.
And now there are also these, to me, subversive or subliminal examples of trying to bring this country back, step backwards. I'll browse on my tablet, and I see these programs, these 1950s style Panavision AI designed advertisements for movies, for example.
Right.
Where they really have these models, male and female models, portraying characters from the 1950s or whatever, very enhanced versions of these characters. They all look like Greek gods, but 99% of them are all white, of white race. Where's the diversity in that? There isn't any, and you know why? Because they're really trying to reinforce that. And one more example. Lately, I've been seeing on my tablet these galleries of photographs from the 1950s, especially people and their cars. And what you have in vehicles in all kinds of settings, and it's all white people, because they're really trying to pound away at the current marketplace.
And George, and check this out, and it's the guy driving the car. It's a family that represents a white family, and it's a guy, and the father's the one driving the car. Not mom driving the car and dad's in the passenger seat. I'm with you, man. I listen. I'm not going to say I got triggered, but when I saw the Costco thing and people want to boycott Costco, I was like, you know what? Costco's going to be just fine. And we're going to load up the parking lot with other people who want to go to Costco that maybe didn't go to Costco because they got tired of going to Costco and seeing crazy fools up in there. So they can boycott MAGA all they want to in different communities where there's a Costco. And there's going to be a lot more people, in my observation, that are going to say kudos and are going to do like Darlene did and call to thank them for being pro-DEI. I love your analogy, George. If you get an opportunity, do me a tiny favor. Just kind of email me the one about the flower garden. I hadn't even thought about it that way, but that's a beautiful analogy. I love that. That's a wonderful. I thought about, my years growing up and working in my parents' garden, and the beauty of seeing a bouquet of flowers. Unless it's just red roses or whatever, that's for meaning purposes. But a bouquet of flowers is a beautiful thing. So I love your analogy, and I'd love it if you could email me what you said about that, because I'd like to be able to kind of further that thought process when we talk about DEI. Would you do that for me, George?
Yes, I sure will, Richard.
All right.
Thank you, and have a good day.
You too, George. Be well. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, Henry. I like that analogy of a flower garden. If you're going to have a really beautiful flower garden, I mean, that's not to say that a bed of roses isn't beautiful. However, when it's blended with others, it's even more beautiful, in my opinion. And I like the way that George put that. As we come to the top of the hour, one of the things that I wanted to make sure to do, because in the next hour, we're gonna keep the fire burning, is a shout out to my man, President Joe Biden. And let me tell you why. Two shout outs on two fronts. He makes sure that he announced a price cap on Medicare and prescription drugs, in case y'all didn't know. And that's his New Year's gift to seniors, is to make sure that that stays in place and that folks who need that help, as he said, I believe that health care should be a right, not a privilege. Through my presidency, I have advanced that goal. This week, we take another step closer to an America where everyone can afford the quality health care that they need, as Medicare's new $2,000 cap on prescription drugs costs from my Inflation Reduction Act goes fully into effect. Right on, President Joe Biden. President Joseph Robinette Biden, right on for that. And another right on to the president. He awards the presidential medals to two Americans that decided to roll up their sleeves and come together to do the right thing as it relates to our country. President Biden announced that he will be awarding the President's Citizens Medal to 20 individuals, including none other than Congresswoman Liz Cheney and Congressman Benny Thompson. Black man, white woman came together, DEI. They DEI'd the J6 committee. Had a bunch of folks in there that were of different communities and cultures and states to do the right thing to that criminal. We call him 34XCF. So kudos to President Biden in two spaces there. All right, guys, we're going to take a break. Top of the hour, 773-763-9278. When we come back, Choose Views will be, I don't know, we might be having a guest in the studio. Talk to you in a bit. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Hey, guys. Welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Lots of stuff happening, but there's a couple of clips that I want you guys to check out. I'm going to do a couple quick house cleaning items first. As I put on my glasses, make sure you make your way over to where that place would be heartlandsignal.com, because we have some great videos and some stories that are, as we get back fully into the new year, you'll start to see more content there. But today, make sure you are tuning in from 2 to 5. Eric Zorn will be in for Joan, and his guests will include Kate Plies, Chicago journalist, historian, and member of the Mincing Rascals podcast team. Gregory Royal Pratt, Chicago Tribune investigative reporter and author of the Lori Lightfoot biology, The City is Up for Grabs. And school portrait photographer Chad Leverance. You know, the kind of guy that makes you stand, put your hand underneath your face and turn. Anyhow, plus Eric will be taking your calls. Joan returns on Monday, live, local, and progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 p.m. here on WCPT 820. Tonight, driving it home, Patty Vasquez welcomes to the show Ellie Krug, transgender activist, author, lawyer, and host of the new Saturday show, The Illegal Trans Woman, on AM 890, the progressive voice of Minnesota. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez, weeknights 5 to 7 p.m. here on WCPT. Saturday, The Big Picture, Edwin Eisendrath is back, and his guests will include Larry Diamond, the senior fellow in global democracy at Stanford University. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays from 1 to 4 here on WCPT, and that's Central Time. And of course, if you missed any of my holiday best of broadcasts, all you have to do is go to Choose Views full episodes podcast feed, and you'll get both of the 2 Wednesdays, that being New Year's broadcast and, of course, our Christmas broadcast. And for those of you who are like me and my guest, Ann Henry, and my wife and many others, that we just can't get the dates right or the days right, we feel for you. Because, you heard me say a couple times yesterday, the weekend, thinking that the day before, meaning New Year's, was a weekend. So we're all kind of getting our oars back in the water the right way. So I understand how we all have kind of been a little bit disoriented with Christmas and New Year's landing on a Wednesday, middle of the week, rather than on a Friday. Always should be on a Friday. All right, Henry, thanks for that background, my man. Let's go to a couple of clips that I want you guys to hear. And we're going to play a couple back-to-back because they tie back into this conversation around DEI and how we got here and how we are better as a society when we really are inclusive and give homage to people who came before us. So let's go with the Trevor Noah clip first, Henry.
A few days ago, I was at an event, and people were having really interesting and dynamic conversations about really difficult topics, men, women, young and old alike. And every few minutes, somebody would start their opinion with the phrase, "Now, I would never say this in public, but," or "I would never say this if I was being recorded, but." And I found that fascinating. So many of us have opinions and ideas about the world that we live in that we are either unable, unwilling, or too scared to share. And I thought to myself, if we cannot have conversations about difficult things, if the conversations themselves are now the difficult things, then what hope do we have of fixing the difficult things?
Great point. And how that's relevant right now. First of all, thanks to Jennifer D. for sending that clip to me. She asked me to play that. It's a great clip. And yeah, we have to talk about things. And in talking about things, I'm going to welcome to the studio our good friend Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics podcast. Good morning and welcome to the studio version of our Friday morning.
Well, and a happy Monday morning to you. Friday morning. Oh, Friday.
See, we're all doing the same thing, even in jokes. She's got jokes this morning. Welcome to the show, Karen.
I'm awake. I have my coffee.
You got your coffee, you got everything.
Yeah.
Oh, golly. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Well, we made it. Here we are.
Here we are.
Step by step.
Yes.
I like what Trevor says, though, and I wanted to have that as a lead into part of our conversation this morning. People have got to be willing to talk about this stuff.
That's right.
No more do we have the luxury of saying, well, we don't talk about politics, we don't talk about religion, we don't talk about sex, we don't talk about money. No, we got to talk about all of it. It's all on the table now.
Yes.
Because that's how part of the reason, what that has led to is an uninformed and susceptible to misinformation community. Mm-hmm. Right?
Right.
How many times have you talked about how the mainstream media is a misinformation organization more than anything, and disinformation organization more than anything else?
Right.
It's not only how they cover things, but what they don't talk about.
Well, sure. I mean, and the amount of misinformation around the election. I mean, we saw it the day after with the Google searches. Did Biden step down? What's Project 2025? What's a tariff? I mean, that is.
Can I change my vote?
Can I change my vote? Exactly. So, yeah, I have long said we have got to be honest and even ruthless at this point in our conversations with people, and just getting real.
Right. And in their faces and not being willing. Listen, it was suggested to me that when I use the phrase "bring a sledgehammer," that I literally mean bring a sledgehammer, and I don't literally mean bring a sledgehammer.
Of course,
I do mean bring a sledgehammer of thinking and thoughts and conversation.
Right. And just let's dispense with the idea that speaking about politics, because really what it is for me, it's speaking about my values. It's speaking about my morals. I vote for Democrats because they mirror what my morals and what my values are.
Right.
And so those things, for me, it's like, is the Democratic Party perfect? Are there some, bad seeds in the Democratic Party? Of course, Joe Manchin.
Christian sentiment.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. But the reality of the situation is the Democratic Party is the only party in this country that stands for democracy. Stands up
for everybody.
For everybody.
That is such a. You have to understand the profoundness of that is the Democratic Party compared to the Republican Party, and then the third party conversation is even the third parties of the candidates. They really weren't for everything for everybody.
Of course not.
But we know that the Democratic Party, proportionately and percentage-wise larger, has policies, has ideas, has plans and thoughts that are for including everyone, not excluding anyone. And that's a significant, it doesn't get said often enough. And maybe the Democratic Party needs to say that more often. Karen and I were talking about this offline before we came back from the commercial, that right now, I was talking about this in the space of kudos to President Biden for his presidential medals that he's getting to certain individuals, and his announcement of Medicare coverage and prescription drugs. And Karen reminded me that we have number. It's 235 judges that President Biden has also made sure get in place. Because why? He wants justice, appropriate justice, not biased justice.
That's right.
For all. This is what you got to understand. People think that President Biden's appointment of judges is about favoring progressives or liberals or Democrats. That's so far from accuracy. That what that means, y'all, is he wants to make sure that justice is meted out fairly in the crazy eight justice system that we do have as best possible. He wants to make sure that that's why appointing the right justices is important.
Yep.
And if you don't believe me, and Karen can speak to this as well, look at how many of the judges that were appointed by Trump that cut him some slack.
Yep.
And now here federal judges. And now here's where we are.
He was literally able to shop the judge in Florida.
Yeah.
To hear, so Aileen Cannon, I mean, keep your eye on her because
she's going to ascend.
That girl's going places.
Yeah, she got off her knees just in time.
Okay.
See, this is the problem with having Karen. I say this lovingly about having Karen in the studio because I say stuff that I probably wouldn't normally. I don't know. That's not true. I say what I say, but
I help you.
You help me say the things that would be close to.
A lot of people have said that about me.
Okay.
I bring out naughty.
So, but Karen's right though. I mean, Eileen Cannon is a good example of a person that was a shopped judge, and she's going to ascend. She got off her knees, and she's going to ascend now.
Yeah.
And the importance of President Biden's appointments are that those judges, I believe, are the judges that are about meting out justice for all folks.
That's right.
Rather than just a select few.
Right.
And getting in the way using the justice system. For example, the tragedy that happened with D.A. Fani Willis.
Oh my gosh.
Because of white male justices.
That's right.
Judges in Georgia.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
For no other reason. They had a desire to show that if you happen to be involved with somebody on a personal level, that we're going to penalize you for that.
Right. Right. The standards, right. The double standards. And that's it almost seems like too mild to even just say, oh, it's double standards and they're hypocritical. And, it's like, this is just, they feel that they have agency over women and they have agency over black women, especially. That should never have been in any way, shape or form.
There's on tape, y'all.
An issue.
The dude is on
nothing.
tape. And people took a plea.
Yeah.
To say that they were wrong.
Exactly.
But now, because y'all decided that a black woman,
right, and
let's call it as it is, a black woman did what we as here's the hypocrisy. Here's the hypocrisy of it. It really, this is a conversation that black folks have kind of behind the scenes. You say that you want folks to be in relationships and you want people to represent this sort of male-female relationship.
Right.
Okay, I'm touching a nerve here. And she did. But now you're going to penalize her for it.
Right. Exactly. MAGA. Yeah.
White male MAGA.
Yes, absolutely.
So we've got some, great news from President Biden as he's wrapping up. And you probably heard me talk about this earlier in terms of I got an email that said basically to black out inauguration day, which is
Reese. I heard that.
Wasn't that cool?
Yeah, she is spot on, and I already actually Malcolm Nance has been talking about it as well. Do not watch it. I was actually, as I was listening earlier, I was thinking too. It's a work day. But it's on Martin Luther King. It's Monday. It's on the King holiday. So I'm almost thinking of organizing some of my walking ladies to go and maybe work at the food depository.
Yeah, Chicago, greater Chicago.
Yeah, like let's go do some.
That's why I said do something of service on that day.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
I think so, and that's a. I've gotten a couple of text messages this morning that speak to the same thing. One from Darlene, who says her church is having a Dr. King service on the 20th, and she called Costco. Darlene, kudos to you. And folks, y'all, that's what we have to do. Absolutely. Karen and I were talking about this, and I know we just blew through the break. So let's hit that, come back, and we'll keep the conversation going. 773-763-9278. Choose Views. We'll be right back.
It's Choose View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose View. 773-763-9278. Sorry I keep making noise and bumping the microphone. I'm kind of navigating back and forth between my laptop and the text messages from you guys and my normal stuff, and of course talking with Karen because, you know, she's being a little divisive this morning. I'm just playing. She's not doing a dang thing that I wouldn't be doing on my own.
Who, me?
Yeah. All right, let's bring on our good friend Kurt Herner from the wonderful state of Ohio, specifically Akron. Good morning, Kurt. How are you?
Well, good morning, Richard, and good morning, Karen. It's nice to talk to both of you.
That's
good
right.
Good morning, Kurt.
Good morning. Hey, before I get into topic here, don't forget today the 119th Congress becomes the 119th Congress. And the GOP may have an infight with electing a speaker, which means Monday the Electoral College vote could be delayed.
That's right.
Because you cannot do anything without a Speaker of the House. That could possibly, in a perfect world, delay Donald Trump's inauguration on January 20th. But don't get your hopes up, folks. Don't get your hopes up, folks. The term of Biden and Harris still expires on January 20th.
Yeah.
So Trump and Vance still cannot become president and vice president without the certification. We don't have a Speaker of the House. Guess what? Our 47th president becomes 91-year-old Chuck Grassley of Iowa because he will be the president pro tem.
Yeah.
Little history lesson for you guys that didn't pay attention during government class or social studies, courtesy of our man Kurt. Yeah, that's true. And this is the thing that here's what's crazy about what Kurt just said, y'all. The Republicans.
Our country's screwed.
Yes. Our country. I'm sorry. The Republican Party is so in disarray and so fighting. We got Johnson, who's being an absolute creep and trying to take this terrorist act in Louisiana and make it a political statement to further his job as Speaker of the House. What a knucklehead. What a disgusting way of behaving. And still, we're fighting through to find out if we're going to have a functioning federal government.
And point of order, that's exactly what the Republican Party has always wanted. They don't want the government to function.
Right.
That is their whole agenda.
Point of order, Karen. Here's the other point of order, Karen.
Yes.
They complained and they cried, how can you vote for a 78-year-old man? He's too old to be president. Well, they voted for a 78-year-old man this time around, but they may end up with a 91-year-old man in the meantime.
I know. It's crazy.
But here's the little history lesson I wanted to give you today. You were talking about the Supreme Court. Richard, remember, John Roberts was supposed to be Sandra Day O'Connor's replacement. Then William Rehnquist suddenly dies, so Bush elevated him to be the Chief Justice, bringing in Sam Alito to then replace Sandra Day O'Connor. However, before Roberts or Alito, Bush was going to put his personal lawyer, Alberto Gonzales, in to replace Sandra Day O'Connor, and he ended up becoming our Attorney General under Bush, replacing John Ashcroft.
Oh man, the bouncing ball of craziness and
talking about DEI.
Yeah, right. Thank you. Exactly, Kurt. That is so on point.
And then, if you want to go even further, Sandra Day O'Connor was that middle of the road vote that went to the right in 2000 because she be damned if Al Gore was going to replace her as a Supreme Court justice with a Democrat.
Yep. That's amazing. Yeah. See, listen, guys, this is the reason that the right wing messaging machine doesn't want, and I'm not just talking about media, that's inclusive of businesses and business people who don't want you to know about this because they're.
And it goes back to what we talked about on Monday, Richard. Remember when Jimmy Carter died? And Karen, I hope you weren't too sad for him because, he was 100 years old, so we can't be too sad for Jimmy Carter.
Lived a great life.
But
he did.
Well, right, that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, remember what I said on Monday? Jimmy Carter had those hostages freed 7 hours before the inauguration, but the media still failed to talk about that until Reagan took his hand off that Bible.
That's right.
That's right. That's true. And that's, again, folks can't just blame elected officials. We have to understand it. Kurt, thank you for the couple of different history lessons. You have to be willing to look back and to look into history and how we got here on so many different levels. And we also have to be willing to not just call out elected officials, but look at the businesses that are supporting. That's why I said a week before last, if you want a project of your own project 2025, what you should do, not Kurt, but anybody that's listening and watching, you should look at the Fortune 500 companies in America and ask, by searching their websites and other things, who are they donating money to?
That's right. Goods unite us. You can find all of that out. Open secrets. Yep.
We're kind of losing you, Kurt. You kind of faded away.
I'm sorry. And I was going to say, should we start slut-shaming the CEOs or the people who are going to start jacking up our electric rates and our gas rates to heat our homes? And,
I'm not about assassinating anybody.
I'm not assassinating. I'm
shaming them.
Shaming them. No, you're right, Kurt. I hear you. I'm with you on that.
In fact, I even looked it up to see if the state of Ohio, where they get their heating oil to heat their homes, the natural gas and everything, luckily we get ours from, and I hate saying this, luckily we get it from the shale in the state of Ohio with all the fracking. I hate the idea of fracking, but at least we're getting it domestically and not Canadian. So hopefully we won't have a 25% tariff slapped onto our natural gas from Canada. Yeah. But you can bet your ass, you can bet your bottom dollar that they're going to raise the prices domestically regardless.
Yeah, that's coming.
And when that happens, we're going to blame.
Yeah, this is what Karen and I were talking about before she came on, where we have to lay blame and where we have to provide solutions. So thanks for the history lesson, Doc. We appreciate it. Thanks for the call today.
Thank you, and nice talking to you, Karen.
Nice talking to you. Have a good
Kurt,
weekend.
have a great weekend, man. Be safe.
Thank you, too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. No, Kurt's right, as usual. And the history lesson, look, folks got to do the work. And I put that in the lap of us as progressives to keep leading the charge and the conversation about do the work. And going to something, and I've gotten a couple other texts about people not watching and looking at mainstream news on Inauguration Day. Okay, that's great. And again, we'll touch on this now, and then it'll take us to the break. I have a clip I want to play when we come back, but I want to also just remind you guys what Karen said before we came on, and that is we have to make sure that our elected officials, and I've said this so many times in the last 2 weeks, we have to make absolutely certain that they are having darn near a daily press conference, if not on Fridays before the weekend and on Mondays when people come back. Here's what the Republicans are doing that's garbage. Yep. Here's what we're doing to change that or affect that. This is our position on this item, whether it be House members or Senate members or both. And governors need to do the same doggone thing.
Yeah.
And it needs to be out in public every single, at minimum, week, but they got enough people every day.
And I would add to that, every single time, not even just a press conference, every time you go on one of these shows, okay, they may have their agenda for what they want you to talk about, but what do the Republicans do every time they're on there? They just start shouting and steering the conversation to where they want so that they can get their talking points in.
Yep.
So when there is a report of something good that ties directly back to the Biden-Harris administration, they need to be saying, hey, point of order, that last piece that you did on, infrastructure, that piece, all of the good news that's going to come out, and you can tie directly back prescription drug prices, student loan, relief.
Go in prepared.
On and on and on.
Almost go in, Democrats, go in prepared to spike the ball
and say that is because of President Biden and Kamala Harris. Okay, that is what that is. It's not Donald Trump. He's trying to take credit. It is not because of him. So let's make that very clear. And they need to do that every time. We talked about the Republicans, and I know we're coming to a break here, but we talk about the Republicans and their messaging and staying on point. They have been so good at it for so long because they get their marching orders, they get their talking points, they all stay on message. Now we have the Doge MAGA infighting and collapse, and just get your popcorn for this because
we have to highlight.
We have to do that.
We have to highlight. We need to stay on point, but we also have to highlight when they have any of these sort of infighting items going on. Our leaders have to be willing to say, y'all going to get more of this.
Yeah.
This is what you're going to see. It's going to happen more and more. They're not going to be able to fix it because they're not the party that's really the party they said they were.
That's right.
Guys, we're going to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. In studio with me today is my good friend Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics Podcast. And so Gene, who has sent us a text, Gene H., we see you out there, Gene, and I'm going to share your phone number with Karen. Not over the air, but Karen's going to give you her Facebook and Blue Sky address.
Hi, Jean. Okay, so on Facebook, I am Karen Irene Bell, Bell, Byrne, Byrne, after our great Mayor Jane. Mm-hmm. And then on Blue Sky, I am KIResists.BSKY.social. I will be getting off of Twitter at noon Eastern Standard Time on the 20th, so I will no longer be there, but I am there for a minute. But per Malcolm Nance's instruction, mass exodus. And Threads as well. I am linked. I think it's KI Resist as well on there.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah. Listen, Blue Sky is really taking off. Mm-hmm. And I mean, again, I'm not promoting any organizations necessarily, but this is more about our communication efforts with each other. You can catch me on Blue Sky at Choose Views. You can catch me on Threads at Choose Views. And I've seen a tremendous amount of folks that are moving in the direction of Blue Sky. So I think that's a good thing. So, Gene, thanks for the outreach and
we're also True Blue, TRUBLU Politics Podcast.
Bingo. There you go. So that's how you can find Karen. So we got a couple calls. We'll let that pause for a second. Yeah, Henry's like, okay, come on, guys. So there's a clip that we put together, and this kind of ties back into the conversation around DEI. Talking about things that need to be talked about, and sort of why I think we get stuck and afraid to talk about some of the reality of our history, as that links to why in many ways we don't get certain things done today. Mm-hmm. And so Henry and I put together this clip, the Asian Men on Black Americans. Let's play that one.
Day, the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning. But the problem is our communities are divided. For Asian Americans and for African Americans, we probably have one of the worst relationships between any community.
Well, I bet you a lot of Asian Americans, too, in my experience, don't even realize that if it wasn't for the civil rights movement, there would not be 22 million Asian Americans in this country.
Thank you. What I have been trying to teach the Asian community is like, friends, do you understand that your success, your prosperity, your civil rights that you enjoy right now was paid for with black blood?
Okay. What was your comment about again? Why did I want you guys to hear that clip? When I talked about DEI earlier, inclusion means inclusion, no matter how you look at it. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't just to give flowers to black folks in the civil rights movement, and prior to that, post enslavement, Jim Crow, post World War II. It was to talk about how history, if not talked about, doesn't exist, surely because we don't talk about it.
That's right.
And when we look at that in relationship to DEI and why our strength is in our diversity of thinking, if nothing else, and that's why I started that conversation off by it being about diversity of thoughts and ideas. Mm-hmm. It's not just about the diversity of skin color and culture and community and faith.
Gender.
And gender. Thank you, Karen. It's about the diversity of thinking. Mm-hmm. That's where the strength of our country comes from.
That's right.
And without that, we are going to continue to wash, rinse, and repeat. I guarantee you, Karen, in a year and a half, when we start to well up for the midterms, I promise y'all this, and you can call me out if I'm wrong. I hope I am wrong about this, but I probably am not going to be wrong about this, is that the Republicans are going to be talking the same garbage about let's keep the Mexicans out, let's keep the nachos out, let's keep the LGBTQ out, they're going to be talking that same garbage.
Yes.
They aren't going to be talking about the fact that Trump fails again.
And the media is not going to be talking about it.
They're going to be talking that same garbage. And so they are not for the benefit of the rest of the country. They are not for what this gentleman spoke to about the importance of recognizing the history of community in this country. They're not about that.
No. And it's an imperative to know where we've been in order to make the decisions for where we're about to go. And so that is, for me, that is absolutely, the imperative. We have to. There's no way that you can even chart a positive and progressive course without knowing where we've been. Nope. Every single decision that each one of us, even in our own lives, make is based off of where we've been.
How many times have I said, Karen, on the air and in private conversations with all of you, that we stand on somebody else's shoulders?
That's right.
And, to not acknowledge that and then not make that part of how we go forward is one of the rudest things to do to our history as a society. And I can say that as a black dude about the shoulders of white women that have been there for me, of black women that have been there for me, of Asian and Hispanic women that have been there for me through my entire damn life. Mm-hmm. Members of the LGBTQ community that have been there for me through my entire life.
Right.
A couple of teachers of mine that were gay and nobody knew about it, but you knew, but nobody talked about it. But you knew that their impact as a teacher was important to us as students. And the list goes on and on and on.
Right.
If we don't acknowledge that and then make sure that that's tied into the importance of diversity of thinking, then we are going to continue to wash, rinse, and repeat. And I guarantee you, like I said a moment ago, a year and a half from now, the Republican Party is going to be talking about the same garbage.
Absolutely.
But here's the difference, y'all. As I said yesterday, it ain't on us. Mm-hmm. It's on the Republican Party.
That's right.
All included. MAGA, heavy MAGA, medium MAGA, light MAGA. All of y'all are responsible for the garbage that's coming these next 2 years until the midterms. Mm-hmm. All of you all are. You don't get the blame. Former President Obama, former President Clinton, Secretary Clinton, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. You don't get to blame them on a national level because that's all on you.
Absolutely.
Every single tragedy, every single bit of garbage, every bad policy, every incident is all on you. Conversely, to Karen's point a moment ago, all the good stuff that's happening,
it
ain't because of Trump. It's because of and this is where the Democrats have got to do this. It's because of Democratic leadership.
That's right.
The good stuff that's coming your way has nothing to do with Trump.
They're going to have to feel it. And if you notice, MAGAs they get what they say they want, and they're still angry about something.
I know.
I mean, look at the right-wing extremism that just happened in the last few days. Okay, the violence, like seriously, it's poetic, driving a Tesla over there and then, just blowing it up in front of Trump Tower, Las Vegas. You can't write that any better.
No.
But, but that's the kind of craziness. That is like
And it's not, and listen, y'all, to Karen's point, that's the kind of craziness. And it ain't that. It's not the end of it.
And it's not. Yeah. And
unfortunately,
it is truly a dumpster fire, because have you seen those cars, those Cybertrucks? Okay. It's like somebody had a meme. It was like this this dumpster from China or whatever. It looks exactly the same.
I know.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, but that's it. I mean, this is where we're at, and this is what you get under Republican control and leadership.
It's
you
true.
get a blown up Tesla in front of Trump Tower.
Yeah.
That is the anyway. Yeah. This is where we are.
Listen, y'all, and we're laughing about this because of the insanity that has been created because of these people who are selfish at their core. Mm-hmm. That's why they can't be happy, Karen, when they quote get what they want. Here's the thing, though. They're not going to get what they thought they were going to get.
Yeah.
They are going to have this. Let me. This is how the conversations are probably going to go. There's going to be what do you want to call it? There's going to be a spike in prices on something.
Oh yeah.
Or there's going to be an issue at the southern border. Or there's going to be, God forbid, more of these attacks. Like
another pandemic.
Or there's going to be, God forbid, another pandemic or national health crisis or global health crisis. And the thing that's going to come out of the mouths of, this is what the media is going to do. The media is first going to say, did the Biden administration miss the opportunity to, and then fill in the blanks. That's going to be part of the mainstream media's, their tenor. And then the other part of the other conversation is going to be from the maggots. It's going to be, and listen, if you're a CEO of a big company and you voted and support Trump, you're a maggot. Mm-hmm. So let me be clear. If I see you on the street and you voted for MAGA, I was in line at the Apple store and I had to mind my P's and Q's because my promise to my family every day is to get my behind home safely. Mm-hmm. But there's a MAGA guy had a Notre Dame hat and 47 on it. He cut in front of me in line with his son because he wanted to be the next person in line to get service. And I just let him go. I was like, I'm just here to, take my, because here's the blessing of sometimes having to pull back from doing something. Had I not done that or restrained myself, and then he was cursing at the service person and what I wanted to say and do, but I didn't. Had I not done the Richard, you got to get your behind home safely, as I wouldn't have met this wonderful family from Sao Paulo, Brazil, because what would have happened is my energy would have been placed over
there
here,
you go.
And then I wouldn't have had a chance to sit where I sat to then meet this wonderful family, father and his two teenagers.
That's right.
Who were awesome, just flat out awesome. He since emailed me, so that wouldn't have happened.
There you go.
My point of all this is we know that the unhappiness from MAGA and the reason that they're not going to be able to take any of the negative things that happen to them or that the things that they thought they were going to get and they don't get, why that's going to be, what's the word I want to use? Why they're going to be kind of okay with that is because deep down inside they're very unhappy, selfish.
That's right.
People.
Right.
And this guy that guy at the store, at the Apple store, showed it to me. Unhappy, selfish, yelling at the person, cursing at the person. He wasn't yelling, cursing at the service person. Over what?
Right.
A damn device.
Exactly.
I spend millions of dollars with Apple. Yeah, right, player. If you spend millions of dollars with Apple, you shouldn't be in the store getting the service. You should have somebody out here getting it done for you. But I was like, I ain't going to say anything.
No.
So that's the problem. Yeah. You could see his energy was negative. Mine was positive.
Well, and and in the example of that, and there's how many more like that person going around there? They're just little rage machines, and it's like, that. So
they're going to be unhappy, Karen.
They're going to be unhappy no matter what happens. And so, let's, show that we're progressive by our love and our patience and, our inclusion.
And our sledgehammer.
And then when we need to bring out a sledgehammer, we can bring out, look, if somebody comes to me with it, If somebody, like at a family party or at a gathering of some sort, brings it to me, I absolutely will pull out my sledgehammer.
This should be that clink. That's the sledgehammer. Right,
exactly. And, people who know me know that about me.
You know that sound of a metal, this is a story that I forgot where this comes from. Someone said the difference between having a wooden bat and a metal bat is that you can drag a metal bat on the ground and it lets people know you're there.
Yeah.
So this is kind of what we're talking about, guys. This is where we are.
Metaphorically.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. MAGA they show themselves to be unhappy. All these things that are going to happen that are not the things that they say that they call themselves voting for, that they don't get.
Right.
They're either going to revolt, which I don't think there's going to be a great percentage of people that will revolt, because I think what's going to happen is they're going to be too proud. As a Christian, pride, Christianity.
Yeah,
wait a minute, disconnect there. Their pride isn't going to allow them to say we made a mistake.
Right. Oh no,
right?
They'll never admit that they made a mistake. They're small-minded little people.
We're going to take a break, guys. 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views. Let's grab a couple quick calls. Let's go to Bob. Hey Bob. Gosh, I mentioned your name. Sorry about that, man. I apologize. Hi.
Okay.
Hello there,
Charlie.
Thomas. Charlie. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard.
What's going on, man?
Good morning, Richard. Hello?
I'm here. We can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hey, listen, for all those Democrats that stayed home, that didn't vote because they didn't want to vote for a black female, I have a suggestion for those people and anybody else that decided not to vote for our only best, probably lady in the world to run for president. But let's all those people who stayed home and didn't vote, and the females and the males supporting what happened with the Supreme Court about overturning Roe versus Wade. Why don't we all go, like 10,000 of us, have a march to the inauguration and fill the front part of that up, and when he starts talking, we just start yelling, lock him up.
I love that idea. I'm trying not to put folks in harm's way right now. I am taking a little bit of the Malcolm Nat stance that right now we can protest, and we should, but we have to be safe and smart about it right now, because we know
they're violent.
That they're violent, and they want to have public displays so that they can say that they can fight in public and civil war and all this other garbage. So I hear you, though.
I like the idea.
I like the idea. Don't get me wrong. I like the idea. I was thinking you were going to say, start raising signs up that say, something nasty.
Yes. Lock them up.
Yeah.
I'm having a printer friend of mine make up those yard signs for elections.
Yeah.
With a thumbs down. And every time I see a person that has a Trump flag and all that other stuff in their yard, right across the street from them in public domain area, I'm putting up a sign that says, lock them up with a thumbs down.
That is brilliant.
Love it.
Charlie, Thomas, Philip, we appreciate your call this morning.
Whatever your name is.
Whatever your name is. Thanks for your contribution, man. Have a good weekend and be safe.
We should do something to let and they made a mistake. They can't go back. They were uninformed, misinformed, or not informed at all. That's the only three people that didn't vote.
That's it.
Good point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be well, sir.
Thank you for your time, Richard, and I listen to your radio station all day long.
Thank you for that support. We appreciate it. Be well. Have a good weekend, okay?
Yes, same to you. Thank you for air my complaints.
No problem, man.
We just got past that Festivus, so airing of grievances is appropriate.
Let's real quickly. Let's go to our man Victor on the northwest side of the country. Good morning, Victor. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Richard. How do you do? And Karen too.
There you go.
Good morning.
What's going on, Vic?
Hey, I want to say you guys are frontline freedom fighters, and we'll make Kurt the chief historian of the Democratic Republican Party. But I just want to say that do you really believe that Jabbar would have committed this heinous act of murder and suicide if Donald Trump was not installed as president? Let's face it, minorities, black, Asian, Muslims, and Hispanics are looking towards 4 years of Donald Trump's hate and violent rhetoric against black people, against minorities, Hispanics. I would be depressed and despondent too. So we got to look at it in that context, because Donald Trump, you remember when he was in office last 4 years, we had Black Lives Movement, we had protests and the Me Too movement. We had all kinds of protests all 4 years. Mm-hmm. We can look forward to more of that during this 4-year cycle. And I'd like to say also that we need to understand that Donald Trump has nothing to offer the maggots or the MAGA people anymore. Mm-mm. All he has to offer is the border. He wants to shut down the border for really no reason, because he can't deliver on removing 15 to 20 million undocumented Hispanics. There's no way you can do that without raising the debt ceiling $5 trillion, because it's going to cost $500 billion to pull off that operation. So all he has left is the border. Anything else that he does on Project 2025 will destroy the economy. So, and one last note, the person in Las Vegas was not a suicide. It couldn't be. He was shot in the head, and then the truck exploded. That doesn't make any sense. How can you shoot yourself in the head and then explode the truck?
Yeah,
it was obviously they had to destroy all the evidence, and that's the perfect way of doing it. He was murdered, put in the truck, and then they exploded the truck to destroy all the evidence. And we don't know why, except he was a special op Green Beret, and he must have had something that was definitely against maybe the Trump administration or something. Something was definitely not kosher there.
Well, and Victor, thank you as always for your call and your contribution to the show. Have a great weekend.
Keep up the good work.
You too, man. Be well. I can't, go to the deep end of the pool on speculation in terms of that.
We don't know what we don't know until we. Yeah.
Right. But Victor makes a good point in the larger context of something ain't right.
Something ain't right.
Something ain't right. So we'll put it in that part of the conversation. Something ain't right.
Well, and I would put that like all of these assassination attempts, like the shooters and each one. I mean, let's just be honest here. Okay. We have the talk about this one person being tied to ISIS or whatever. It's the same ideology. It's the same fundamentalist nonsense. Okay. Mm-hmm. MAGA, ISIS, all of it. It is a bunch of people being angry and misdirecting their anger in a violent way towards people that don't
deserve that vitriol.
Do not deserve it. And and that is, point of order. Even bringing up ISIS, all I'm thinking about is like we're ignoring the MAGA violence. Starting even before January 6th, there was MAGA violence going on.
Look at and then the guy with the van that was coming after former president. The list goes on and on. Listen, I saw this statistic day before yesterday that said that by the midterms, that the violence that takes place in America, the percentage of violence that's perpetrated in America, like these two incidents that took place on this week, are going to be more from domestic terrorists.
Absolutely.
And domestic terrorism acts than it will be from a foreign entity. Mm-hmm. And I'm basing that on the last 6 years of history. I do believe that I don't think that that's a far-fetched conversation. Mm-hmm. That because the FBI said it, 3 years ago? And everybody went, oh, no. And they said, listen, this is our biggest concern. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the right poo-pooed it. The mainstream media poo-pooed that. Mm-hmm. Because there's nothing sexy or newsworthy about saying there's a bunch of white dudes running around blowing stuff up.
Or shooting up school children.
School children. Listen. Y'all can say what you want to about this thing I'm about to say, but it's the truth. And there haven't been a bunch of white women, black women, Asian women, Hispanic women, LGBTQ members of the LGBTQ community running around shooting up schools full of children, blowing up cyber trucks, driving trucks through streets and taking people out. It ain't coming from there. And trust me, brothers know that we don't do that stuff. Mm-hmm. Not like that. Mm-mm. You know, Pookie and Ray Ray might have a fight in the neighborhood, but they're not going to get into the truck that they got a loan on. They can drive it and run over some people. They're not going to spend $125,000 to go blow up a truck.
Right.
So for the people that are out there saying that domestic terrorism conversation is hogwash, no, it's not. Mm-mm. It's coming from inside the house, y'all.
Sure is.
It truly is.
And it's been radicalized by the Republican Party and right-wing extremism.
And for those who don't want to hear it, don't walk around with your ears, hands over your ears going, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. It's here in front of us.
Yes, it is.
Well, how about that, guys? Wow. We did it again. It's been great having my good friend Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics podcast in studio so we can chop it up and hopefully make you guys laugh and be thinking. And as always, can't do this without my man Henry, who makes sure that we keep it on the rails every day. Mm-hmm. Appreciate you, Henry, as always. And guys, as I say at the end of every show, take a deep breath, make your life count. We'll see you next Monday.